Mr. President, the unprecedented and dire situation unfolding before our eyes is a test for the Security Council, for the General Assembly, and for this organization as a whole. We hope that the Security Council will soon be able to unite its voice and speak to the civilians in the region. Current silence is deafening. As the Special Coordinator Venezuelan has stated, and I quote, "We are at the brink of a deep and dangerous abyss that could change the trajectory of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, if not of the Middle East as a whole." Like most delegates in this hall, Slovenia is deeply troubled with the speed of the deterioration of the situation. The conflict can easily spiral out of control, escalate, and spill over in the region. We recognize the efforts made by the United Nations, several states and leaders to avert the crisis and humanitarian disaster. We call on all countries in the region and beyond to act responsibly and to cooperate and engage in a constructive dialogue to de-escalate the conflict. Mr. President, there can be no justification for the brutal terrorist attack of Hamas on Israel, and we strongly condemn it. It has triggered a new cycle of violence and civilian suffering. We call for immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. Israel has a right to self-defense in line with international law. At the same time, the international law is providing all civilians protection during the conflict. The scenes we are witnessing are heartbreaking. Majority of those suffering the most are women and children. No civilian should be a target, and neither used as a hostage or a shield. Slovenia calls on all parties to fully respect international humanitarian law and humanitarian principles. We support all efforts of the UN Secretary General and other parts of the UN system in addressing the pressing humanitarian situation. Without access to water, food, medical supplies, fuel, gas, and electricity, and with constant attacks on civilian objects, schools, hospitals, and protected shelters, the already dire situation in Gaza is turning into a human catastrophe. There is an urgent need for a humanitarian ceasefire or pauses and humanitarian corridors that will enable rapid, sustained, unimpeded, and safe access for humanitarian aid, equipment, and personnel to Gaza and its distribution within Gaza. We should massively scale up our humanitarian assistance to respond to the immense needs on the ground. Slovenia commends the work of humanitarian agencies and their personnel in Gaza, who continue to provide assistance and protection to the people, often at a great sacrifice, paying the ultimate price with their own lives. Recognizing the deteriorating humanitarian situation, Slovenia has recently substantially increased its funding to UNRWA and its activities in support of the Palestinian people. Mr. President, resumption of a meaningful political process which will lead to the two-state solution, living side by side in peace and security, is of urgent and paramount importance. Slovenia has and will continue to support initiatives that reinforce the Middle East peace process, including the Peace Day effort. The Palestinian question has been a testing ground for this organization for far too long. It is high time to turn to the UN Charter and what it mandated us to do, to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. Let us make sure that humanity prevails. Thank you.
This has been the Nod News Network. Transmission complete.